Well, hi, welcome to Chapter 8. Chapter 8, we're going to get into colors. So what we've seen so far is we've seen how we can create boxes, and then we can see how we can combine those boxes together and so that they kind of make up a nice page layout. Well, now let's start adding some color to that, and maybe even some graphics and some images to kind of give our site a little more depth. So this chapter we're going to understand graphic file formats. We're going to choose a graphics tool. We're going to use the IMG element. Okay, so we're going to get into the IMG tag. We're going to control these image properties with our cascading style sheets. We're going to understand the computer color basics, the basics of colors and how they work. How we control those colors through CSS, and then basically get into some different background images for some of the different websites we're going to do. Okay, so first thing we need to talk about is let's talk about the different graphic file formats. And the first one is this thing called GIF, and it's actually an acronym for Graphics Interchange Format, and is what we call a lossless format. And what we mean by that is as you make the picture smaller and you can compress it, it doesn't lose any of its color quality. The bad thing about a GIF is it's only got 8 colors. Okay, so I should say 8-bit colors, which is not, if you think of a crayon box, it's not a very big crayon box. We don't have a whole lot of colors to choose from. Okay, so basically 256 colors is all we have. Now when I talk about colors, when we talk about basically a wide range of colors, think of all the different shadings of blue, of a blue sky. Each one of those blue colors is just that. It's a color, it's a crayon. Well, in our 256 box, we don't have that many different shades of blue. So we're going to see what that looks like here in a little bit. Probably the most popular, well, continue on with GIF. So another thing about GIFs is we can make part of the picture transparent. It basically holds nothing in that area, so whatever it's basically sit on top of, that particular item will bleed through. Here's an example. So here is this yin-yang image, and it has a white background, and this bottom one has a transparent background. So it still takes up a square, but these white edges are now transparent, and whatever the background color is bleeds through, so it gives it that it just looks like a circle sitting there. What it really is a square, but it looks like a circle. Another thing about GIFs is we can take and chain a bunch together and create what's called an animated GIF. So if we took these 6 pictures and put them into an animating program, it would basically then look like that sun is going up and going back down, and then it will basically loop and keep doing that. And you can change the speed of how fast it goes and all that as well. There are some different sites you can use. This GIF Animator is a pretty good one. It's actually a program that you will download and install on your computer. And there's a few other ones you can kind of play around with and see how they work. I think this is the GIF Animator, so you download it, and again what you do is you bring in the pictures, and then you have them play, and then you can tell it how long to play each picture. How long you want it, basically, do you want it to show for 1 second, 0.5 seconds, whatever the case may be. You can make one picture stand a little longer. Do you want it to loop? All that type of thing. If I went to oh shoot, let me try this one. So if I go to I've got a group that I basically maintain, and at the bottom down here I have this image, and if you watch it, it will basically change back and forth. And what that's doing is I've taken a snapshot of those picture, or I've actually kind of morphed it, and then it basically takes a picture of each one of those, and it's just basically displaying one picture after another. So it's an animated GIF. So that's really all that's going on there. There's probably, I don't know, 15, 20 pictures there that it basically just shows one at a time, and it looks like it's gradient, but it's not. So there's some other ones where you can kind of play around with, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. The problem is just trying to find a bunch of pictures to put together. Okay, so probably the most popular graphics that are on the internet today is what are called JPGs, otherwise known as JPEGs. You'll have an extension of either JPG or JPEG. They're both the same file format, but it stands for Joint Photographic Experts Group. Now, GIFs are 8-bit colors. Okay, that's 256 colors. Now these are 24-bit colors, which gives us basically thousands and thousands of different color ranges that we can basically utilize. So now so whenever you have a photograph, you probably want to use a JPEG. If you have, let's say, some kind of a graphic, maybe a title bar or something to that effect, that's a picture, and it doesn't have that many colors, you probably want to use a GIF. And the reason being is, since GIFs don't have but 8-bit colors, there's not that much data in them, so they're not going to be very, very large. Where JPEGs can get extremely large, and the larger the picture, the larger it is, the more it basically is from your website has to be loaded in. And if you have slow internet speed, or if you have a smartphone, or you have a tablet or something to that effect, it really is going to make that page a lot slower. So you really have to take that in consideration. The next one is called PNG, and this stands for Portable Networks Graphics. And think of PNGs as being JPEG and GIFs together. And what I mean by that is they have 24-bit colors. They can also be transparent as well. So it's really, really nice to basically be able to do that. So now, one thing I want to talk about, GIFs have what is called a lossless. Talked about that. No matter how I resize it, it basically will not lose the color or its clarity. JPEGs, on the other hand, as you shrink that picture down, it loses data. It loses some of the quality. It loses some of the colorization, all that. So if you were to take a picture and make it smaller and then try to make it bigger, it's kind of like making a Xerox copy of a Xerox copy. You lose a lot of quality. You lose a lot of color. PNGs, on the other hand, are lossless. They are a lossless format. So they have this, so PNGs support transparency and interlacing, but not animation. So if you need animation, you got to use GIFs. If you don't, I would highly suggest using PNGs. Interlacing is a type of gradient display of graphics in a series of passes as the data arrives on the browser. So what they're saying is as it's loaded on the screen, it kind of puts a layer and another layer and another layer and kind of layers those pieces on there. As it paints the picture on the screen. One useful feature of the PNG is its built-in text capabilities for image indexing, which allows you to store a string of identifying text within a file itself. So it allows you to basically keep track of maybe who the author of the picture was, that type of thing. So it's actual textual stuff, that kind of this metadata that gets stored with it. This last one is a really cool one. It's called SVG, and it's Scalable Vector Graphics. Now, what I want you to think about this guy is it's lossless. It's two-dimensional, meaning that you really can't have a photograph because here's how it works. It's just data. That's all it is. It's just data. So what it does is it draws a picture on a screen and colorizes it. Draws another picture, so it tells it where to draw, and when it gets done, you got a picture. It's a very, very detailed picture. But again, it takes up hardly any data because it tells the computer where to paint these different objects. So let's see a demo of one. So if I come up here, so this is an SVG file. Okay, now it really looks neat. But again, each one of these items, so if I were to download this guy, I'm going to go ahead and save it. Oh, it's a PNG. It's not what I wanted. Okay, so let me, okay, I've got it downloaded, so let me just take a look at it. It's, put it on my desktop. There it is. So when I open it, it basically gets opened in a website. Okay, so it gets opened in a web page. So that's where SVGs basically reside, is on web. Whoop. So they get loaded here. Now let me do this. Let me do a right click on this guy and let me open it with, let me choose a let me choose Notepad. Now if we look at this, this is the file. That's pretty cool. So what it says is this. It's XML, which is extensive markup language, and it basically says, okay, in this section right here, okay, I want you to put these colors in there, okay, and it basically goes through this whole thing. So yeah, I could come in here and change one of these colors. So let me do this. Let me change it to, let's see what happens. I really don't see any changes. So let me try it again. So let me go in here and change. And let me refresh it. Okay, we just saw something change right there. Okay, so let me see if I can find his. It doesn't label eyes or anything like that. But again, I could go into this guy and I could change. Oh, let me see this guy right here. I'm just going to pick a color here. Let me do a refresh and let's see what happens. Yeah, hard to see. Anyways, I could change this nose a different color. I could change this tongue. I could change all of this information here, different colors altogether. And again, it's just data. That's all it is. It's just data. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. Okay. So those are SVGs. Now the problem with SVGs, it is not all browsers support them. So it says that SVG graphics are scalable to some different display resolutions, and SVG graphic can be reused at different sizes throughout the web. So you can have it this big, you can have this big, it doesn't matter because it's not going to take up that much space as it is. So again, if you get a chance to ever play around with SVGs, they're really a lot of fun. But again, not all browsers basically handle them. So we talked about earlier about lossless and lossy. Well, if we were to take a JPEG and shrink it down, and it basically lost all that data, and then bring it back up to its same size again, this first picture is what it would look like. So we'd lose a lot of the detail, we would lose a lot of the colors, we'd lose a lot of that. So You know, and so the difference between these two pictures is probably file size. This left one on the left is going to take up a lot less space than one on the right. So using JPEGs is really, really tough because you want detail, but you don't want it too big. So there's this nice trade-off that we have to basically deal with. In more the advanced class, we actually can utilize having 3 different size pictures, and we can find out what size resolution you have and give you that picture that you need. So if you're on a cell phone, it's going to give you the small picture. It's not going to take that much space, and it's going to be a lot faster to basically display that screen because we're not utilizing big data. Okay. So where can you find images? Here's you can purchase them, you can take pictures yourself, you can scan in pictures, you can go to public domain sites, whatever the case may be. Now the thing you have to worry about is if you get a picture off the internet and you going to use it on, let's say, a commercial website, you would probably be sued. You would probably someone would seek some type of legal retribution on you. So you have to be very careful about trademarked pictures, watermark pictures, those types of things, because they are owned, and you could get sued. So, and Disney's the worst one of them all. They will basically sue everybody and anyone who uses their stuff without their permission. So when we start bringing pictures into our website, we have to start thinking about what file type do we want to use. Again, if we're going to have a simple graphic that's just maybe a sign or maybe our logo, that type of thing, GIFs are probably the best thing to use because they take up very, very, very little space. Plus, we can make the backgrounds transparent, so if we just need a circle, just a circle appears, that type of thing. If we need more full flavored color, again, photos, that type of thing, make sure we use JPEGs. We can use PNG as a substitute for GIFs. PNG offers greater compression and color depth than GIFs, but because GMP does not compress your 24-bit images as well as JPEGs do not use it for photos. Okay, so it doesn't show the detail and photos that JPEGs do. So again, I would use PNGs the same place you would use GIFs if you need more color. Okay. Now, once we have graphics, you might want to go in and change them. Maybe we take a picture, we need to make it lighter and or more contrast, or whatever the case may be. Maybe make the color more robust. Well, how do we do that? Well, there's Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator, and those probably run in the hundreds, if not the thousands of dollars. Adobe Fireworks, again, costs money. PaintShop Pro costs money. Unlead, Photo Impact. I think there's a free version of that, but the best tool, and this is a tool I use, and this is very comparable to Photoshop Elements, is this thing called pixlr.com. It's totally free. You come in here, you click Launch a Web App. You can open an image from your computer. I don't want that one. Let me get a better picture. So got this one, and this is a PNG because I can see it's got a transparent background. But again, the nice thing is I can come in here and I can increase the image size. Okay. I can come in here and I can click on this color wheel, and I can click on my little brush right here, and I can actually paint this picture. I can click here on text, and I can click and actually type some text. So there's all kinds of things I can do. I can actually come in here and I can actually zoom in. And I can